Hey guys, this Production Music Live with another tutorial. Well, we have several tutorials on this remake of a track by Coyote Kisses. It's called Revive. And our remake sounds this way. The original over here sounds like this. I sampled that one down from their SoundCloud, and so it's a little less brilliant in the high frequencies. Well, I have already made a tutorial on the vocal chop effects over here, and in this tutorial I want to focus a little more on the bass and drum sounds, which are quite heavy applied over here in this track, and we will need a couple of minutes to go through those. So in order to really know what they're doing when I applied the technique of like slowing down the original song and really listening closely to what is happening. And for example, if I wanted to know what was going on in this part over here, I went down in the tempo, or maybe 120 or something. And if that was not enough, those higher synths are quite distracting. You can use an auto filter and cut those things off a little and just have a listen to the bass and the drum elements. For me, it's a little easier to identify bass and kick sounds that way, with such a heavy track with so many layers. Well, over here we are using, let's go into this. We are using a kick out of, well, basically all the drums we are using here are part of our D Premium drum sample pack. Check the description for that one. And that one is kick 16, and kick 16 is played out in the drop. Let's focus on the drop part first. But let's go back to the 170 tempo. I'm cutting the return channels here. And let's put in the clap sounds as well together. I have several of those. And let's put in the bass as well. I have a trap bass over here. Quick focus on the claps at first. So you see this clap sound over here. It's clap dry 22, a little bit of chorus applied, and a little bit of cutoff over here. And pitch down 10 tones, 10 semitones, and it falls in there. And I also adjusted a little bit of those delays of the different tracks. Sometimes it's easier than placing the MIDI notes off grid. That second snare over here, let's play it out in those two parts. Snare sound dry 10, a little bit of drum room in there, and a little bit of send effect from the return channel, long reverb. long reverb is warm long from the init patches, from those preset patches for the audio effects over here. And let's put this back off and check the third snare sound. It's playing top and bottom of the octave over there, and let's try 11. Detuned, transposed, a little bit of EQing, emphasis on this part over here. So I want this kind of room feeling with this EQ. Okay, we also have a percussive hit over here. Just this perky sound. And crash clap, that's an audio sample right here. Let me take those vocals off. They are really part of this other tutorial. Check the description, and the saw is also going off for now. Exactly, and here we also have a snare. The snare sound, snare dry 12. Notice those velocity changes over here. We don't want every hit to sound exactly the same, so it sounds a little more natural if you play around with the velocities as well. And also the trap hi-hat over here, which is dry, closed hi-hat dry 34. And this is the tom sound over here. That one goes together with the trap bass over here. So the trap bass is from the bass group. Make sure you listen on speakers with a subsystem or on headphones, because laptop speakers don't really play this trap sound over here, this trap bass. And that one is a massive patch sine wave. It's basically a sine wave, and it also applies an envelope for the kicky part. And you also need to make sure you have those envelopes set correctly, then you really get there with the sound. And not much more happening there. We're just playing the notes from the original track, or what I can hear from the original track is this. And also on top of that, we are playing a sine wavy bass that's going a little more nuts. It's gliding around, so it's on monophone, and it has this timer quite heavily applied. of course there's a reverse symbol over here. That's reverse symbol dry 002, and a little bit of low cut in there as well. So that's the drumming in the drop, and then we are moving over towards the bridge, and in the bridge the rhythms are changing a bit. So the snares always staying the same, and over here we have like the hi-hats are changing also a little bit. Also, there's the sweep sound over here, achieved by Massive. That's just a sine wave with a third envelope pitch down from 64. Of course, those parts are with claps over here, like this clap on the fore end. Yeah, and I also try to listen to the original track over here, and we have a different bass sound over here. It's a squarey carbon saw kind of mix of oscillator. Well, the saw is not in there, but square and carbon are in there, and no white noise applied. DAF filter working for us. A little bit of chorus over here. It's opened up just a little bit, and that's how you get this sound. And that one is just an additional synth for the clicky parts. There's a percussive sound over here, it's going really, really fast. You see the open hi-hat is always in this position over here. Basically a ride sound from the rides of the package here. It's this one, and I cut off the starting part and just use this part. Well, that's kind of the drumming of this track. Is there some more stuff? I think we are basically through the elements, and in the verse over here, there, like the trap kick is exchanging a little bit with the top kick because we really want to emphasize on the first kick over here. Of course, there's this shaker in here. It's always on the first note, but it's leaving out the one where the kick hits. And over here in this little break we have the snare again with this positioning. And the tom is answering over here. And then you can like drop into the beats. Let's check that back over here. Maybe I can tell a little more about this first bass over here. I haven't talked about that one yet, but so that's what we have here. And we're using a sine wave, just a little bit of square wave, and we are voicing monophone, and we are gliding with the glide of the oscillator. This bass, it's just helping this gliding effect in the bass frequencies. We could have another look at the pads over here, because we are basically through with everything. If we put this tutorial together with the vocal chops tutorial, we are almost there. So let's do the remaining parts. We have those blips over here. That's one of those tropical sounds, key sounds, square sound, Flanders, and a little bit of pitching with the third envelope on the Flanders. And if we were to leave this effect chain out, let's have a quick look what will happen. Because sometimes people are asking on the channel, hey, please explain what you're doing with your effects. And over here I have an EQ cutting out some lower frequencies. Over here I have the sidechain from the sidechaining track above. A little bit of chorus applied, just a little bit. And over here you can see a reverb up quite a bit, 2.5 seconds long reverb, and a delay 16.8. So we are on the 16th notes, really mathematical in the 4-beat pattern. And we are working with those pads over here. A little bit of detuning with the LFO here on the two first oscillators. The third one is not playing. We have a saw and another saw square. And that one with this effect chain is put more to the sides of the wider panorama. Over here we have almost the same sound for the middle of the panorama, so we are going into mid-side mode with this equalizer and we're emphasizing a little bit the lower mids. We're cutting off the high end. That one is supposed to do the warm feeling. That one adds the high end over here with frequencies up to 12K. And you see the ratio of this LFO controlling the two oscillators over here and the filter is 3/12. If that's too hectic, you could go down a little bit. And we stop them right at the end of the fourth bar and add some dynamics in there for drum effects, for example. There's always space here for some cool drum effects or snares or vocal chops or something. And the bass, you can see it's also stopping there. So that's really adding this dynamic feel to the track, and it's not always everything there in the frequency range. And one thing left over here to say is the string part. They're really not doing anything fancy, but they're just inside of the original, so I try to remake them here as well. I'm using the string pack from the Suite library, orchestral strings, that one. I'm using the string ensemble, and that's basically this string staccato, a little bit of low cut, a little bit of sidechaining, a little bit of a delay, and a little louder with the utility. So one thing left to talk about here is the saw lead from the drop part side. So we have this template for this track as a template you can get on our website, but with another song inside. It's not this song inside, but we're putting in some of our own nice uplifting melodies and trying to achieve a cool track like this as well. And for that, in that case, we still need to talk about the saw lead over here, which is basically well, on the channel, on the complete group channel, we have a car stereo multi-band splitter compressor effect from the multi-band dynamics car stereo over here. We have a little bit of EQing going on, a little bit of saturation with the saturator, warming up the lows, a little more multi-band dynamics and some auto filtering and a little bit of reverb as well, and sidechaining in the end. And we are playing with a massive, basically playing with math, with the wavetable rough math. Let me quickly consolidate those parts and show you the MIDIs. It's really difficult to listen to the song and get all the sounds, all the notes that they are playing, but I try to listen in and listen to what they are playing in the original. Anyways, there's a lot of automation going on over here. So for example, I'm amplifying the auto panning, and that's getting this messed up sound sometimes. It's the preset sharing. And if you increase the amount, at some points you notice it works like an LFO almost. And sometimes I'm also decreasing and increasing the volume in the end over here with a utility. You can see that over here. And I'm also working a little bit with the threshold of the sidechain compression, because I don't want it to be late and always late in the same amount. Sometimes I want it to kick it in earlier and sometimes a little later, and that can be controlled with the threshold of the sidechain over here. And also to have this sound a little fatter, so I really need this mono kind of sound, but I still want to have it fat. And the first thing I could think of, well, really easily was the signal, and use it as input here. And we use it one time as an audio track on the left, as audio track on the right, and in the center. And basically take the audio for those audio tracks from this MIDI channel. So we plug in saw main 62, which is this channel. We plug it in here. We tell this thing to go on input mode. That's when it turns to orange over here. And then we can have it double or 3 times with the same sound. And the cool thing is we don't need to copy everything and adjust later. We just take the signal of this track, and everything that's happening on this track will happen here on the left and here on the right and here in the center again. And if we change something here in this envelopes and curves, it will automatically change over here as well. But we have some changes applied also on those channels, but only in EQing wise. So you see on the right, it's a little different to the left, just to have it a little more interesting for the ear. And in the center, we're just cutting out the lows. And then later we are filling it up a little bit on the side over here. Nothing fancy, and a little more over here. A little frequency filler. And we have this gliding effect over here. Again, with I think I froze one note of those sounds here. I made an audio from it and dragged it into a simpler, and then I placed it here, and then I told it to transpose with this automation. Where is it here? With this automation. Of course, there are also glitch effects and third-party plugins, but I really wanted to make this Ableton Suite and massive only, so I figured that was a quick way of getting there. This pitchy tape stop kind of effect. And well, that's basically the saw section over here. Everything sounds a little nicer if we glue it together later, so we also Oh, we are not gluing the drums together, the bass and, well, the vocals are cut out a little bit in the middle over here in the group and left on the sides. And yeah, there's also a little mid-side action going on over here. And then we are using on the master, we're using the typical PML mastering chain. We also have a tutorial on this one. It's an Ableton only mastering chain. Check our channel for this tutorial. And it's catching peaks over here with this glue compressor. It's cleaning up a little bit. It's adding some multiband dynamics. And so it's a multiband compression. And then we are compressing a little bit with punch and sustain. And then there's final touches, EQ, a little low end, a little more high shelf. And then the limiter goes up. Also a little bit of bongo action going on in the beginning. That's just there for the intro part. Well, basically, I think we're more or less through. If you use this tutorial and you use the vocal chopping tutorial, you have an explanation for the complete song. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Subscribe to our channel. Check the description for example, for those drum sounds. We have this drum pack, Deep Premium, over here, and the drum sounds from this project, they're all out of the Deep Premium package. And also check the description for the template of this tutorial with other MIDIs. You can also listen to the preview of that one. Follow us on Facebook and post your suggestions and questions below, and I hope to see you next time.